I'm Annie, I'm a frequent traveler, and I run the account Average Girl Does Cool Things. And if you've been here for a while, you'll know that this is a little bit of a different style for me. But today, I thought our subject matter requires a little bit more of a vlog style. So I've been running Average Girl for 2 years now, and it's been through many iterations. We started out with it was called Brave and Resilient Life, and I wanted to do life coaching. And then I pretty quickly realized that I didn't like life coaching, but I knew I had like things I wanted to share. I knew that I had built this really awesome life and I wanted to help other people build their awesome life too. Now, starting the Brave and Resilient YouTube channel got me started here, and the original videos, you'll never see the light of day. They are buried real deep. They are buried so deep in the archives. But that was good because we needed to like get those out of the way, right? So over the past 2 years, I have spent a lot of time on this channel doing travel content. And my philosophy was always that I wanted to do travel content that was more like how to travel. It was more tips around allaying the anxiety of like what to pack, how do you get through customs, like what do you expect from the weather, what do you wear, all those like practicalities that can make somebody really anxious and like afraid to go on a trip. I wanted to solve those problems. Now the issue that I've run into on YouTube in particular is that I don't do like super aesthetic content. My content is more like sit here and talk and listicle, and some of those videos have done very well, and many of those videos hardly see an audience. And that can be really, really, really discouraging and really challenging. And as somebody who like has a full-time job, who wants to build this platform and this structure, like I gotta wonder, is it really worth my time? The other issue I run into here is like, I don't like playing the traditional YouTube game. I loathe clickbait. I think clickbait is like ruining our capacity as decent communicators or like functional humans. So I'm super hesitant to like play the clickbait game and do super like clickbaity thumbnails and titles. And because I refuse to play that game, a lot of my content doesn't get picked up super well by the algorithm. And I'm just so hesitant to like go down that road. Plus, there's so much competition in the travel space and so many people do it so well. Whether they're teaching you about points and point hacking or giving you itineraries or showing you like beautiful destinations. I gotta be honest, that's not me. That's not my content. If only because I don't want to be running around these beautiful destinations with a camera. I don't want to be like the obnoxious person like filming everything. I want to be there enjoying these places because I paid for it. Nobody's paying me to travel to these places. Like I'm footing the bill and I'm paying like $30,000, $40,000 a year to travel. So here I am getting frustrated with making travel content and continuing to pump it out every week. And I'm starting to think like, what can I do differently? And what is the core and the root of like what I'm actually trying to accomplish here? Now, the good thing is, as I've been producing content more consistently and I've like been pumping content out every week, I've got a good system down and I feel like the quality of my videos has gotten a lot better. I feel like my writing has gotten better. So like our production quality from the time I started with the Brave and Resilient Life stuff that I now have taken off the internet forever and what I'm producing now, I'm pretty proud of. My Rwanda, Uganda gorilla trekking video is like my favorite video I've ever produced because I actually like told the story of the entire trek through that video. And I think it's really beautiful. It's a really good vlog. That video also took me a tremendous amount of time to film and produce. And I've got a 9-to-5 job, so like where do I find the time and the energy to do that all the time? I don't have an editor. I'm not paying an editor. I wish I could, but it's like not in the cards at the moment. So I've been thinking a lot about the content and like, do I need to do a content shift? I went through a visual branding this year with Average Girl, with these amazing logos produced, and I had to spend a lot of time thinking about like, what is the brand? Like, what am I trying to accomplish here? And I really wanted it to be, luxury but fun. And I want it to be like a behind the scenes, a peek into things, like how do you make this accessible? Like I had all these thoughts around it. And what I keep going back to is what I say at the end of every video, which is go create a life you love. And I say that every video because I firmly believe that like this is a lifestyle you can create for yourself, but you have to go do it. You have to go take actions to make these things happen, to like live out your bucket list. Life you can't just let life happen to you. And I was a person for a very long time who just like let life happen to me. So for me, Go Create a Life You Love has manifested in travel, but it's also like attracted so many more people than just people who love to travel. Yes, they think travel is really cool and they'd like to do more of it, but they're stuck in these other roadblocks that are not allowing them to progress. And they're not allowing them to like have the resources to go travel, whether it's money, whether it's time, the bravery, the emotional capacity, the energy, like whatever it is, they look at it and they're like, oh, that looks great. And it looks amazing, but it's not fully relatable. Like, I don't know how to get to there. And I feel like that's maybe the piece that's been missing here. I can show you all these amazing places. I can give you tips and tricks for like when you travel to places. But if you don't have the resources to even just like book the plane ticket, then all this is kind of moot, right? So I want to let you in on a little like behind the scenes of how I'm able to do all this travel that I do. And then maybe talk about how we can pivot things and I can start to give you more content where I'm helping you to do the same, which means it's probably story time. I am not going to sugarcoat that like I had a lot of privilege growing up. Absolutely did. Doesn't mean I didn't have challenges, but like I never had to worry about a roof over my head. My parents are very loving. They're still together. They were there for me. They paid for my college. Like I had a lot of amazing legs up in the world. I also had a hard time because we moved a lot when I was growing up. So I moved schools like every couple of years. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, quite honestly, because it taught me to be super resilient and it taught me to adapt to situations like really quickly. So I got very good with people and like understanding people, reading people. So I went to college, 4-year college, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I went to the University of San Diego. I got a bachelor's degree in theater arts and English because again, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I graduated college. And I took like the first job I could find. I got a job at the university doing event planning. And I was like the assistant event planner. So I was making $15 an hour. Yeah, $15 an hour for my first job out of college. And y'all, I thought that was so much money. I was like, I'm going to get my nails done every week. I'm going to be able to go out. These things were not true. I had no concept of what $15 an hour bought me. In fact, my job, I actually had to pay for parking. I had to pay $15 out of every paycheck for parking. So I had to work 1 hour at my job just to be able to park at my job. It's insane. If I had not had my parents' support, I would not have been able to live in San Diego. That's where I live. That's where I went to university. I wouldn't have been able to live here. So I graduate university. I have this job. I'm there for like 2.5 years. And I very quickly realized I got no upward movement here. And I started my career thinking that like going in as an assistant would be like the first step on the ladder that I was supposed to climb. Knowing now that like that was not true. I went to work for a nonprofit, which doesn't pay. And I had no concept of like what I wanted to do. I was an event planner, so that was fun. But I wanted more. I came from, I was a type A kid. I got all A's and now here I am like checking the box and not going anywhere and still making like barely enough to survive. Oh, also this was like 2007. So then 2008 recession happened and like there was no opportunity to move anywhere. So eventually I did this video production project with a contractor at work and the guy really liked me and he offered me a job. And I was so desperate to get out of my $15 an hour situation that I said yes. And I left a full-time paying job with benefits, with 401k for a part-time gig at a video production company where I worked for the owner and his wife, and he was an odd duck. I was just desperate. I was desperate to get out. And I think because I moved so much growing up, it was very easy for me to just like jump to the next thing. There's something in me that very much craves that like next challenge, next place, next journey. Like if I'm in one location too long, I get very antsy and I want to leave. So that's what I did. I jumped to this video production company. I was not there very long. I very quickly realized that like there was no like buffer between me and this guy, and like not that he did anything inappropriate, but like he was weird. I wasn't getting any sort of like development, like I had no idea what I was doing. And so around this time, I'm starting to think like, I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll just get a master's degree. Because what do you do when you don't know what you want to do with your life? You go back to school. Because school is safe. So I end up applying, oh, no joke. I didn't know what I wanted to get a master's degree in. So I went on Google and I just plugged in like all the things I was good at and was like, what? And I was like, what should I do with my life? And it was like, oh, PR would be a good field for you. So then I started looking at master's programs in PR, and I applied for a strategic public relations master's program from George Washington University. And it was what do you call it? Like a virtual program, an away program. So I decided to just like take on $40,000 of debt to get a master's degree. So dumb. And in the meantime, I put out feelers for a new job. I had a friend who had worked at this place that was another nonprofit. They did leadership development. She's like, they were great. You'd be really good at it. It's kind of like event planning. So I got a job there that paid like $20 an hour. So it was a little better, but still, as like a 24-year-old at this point, was I 24? Yeah, I was like 24 at this point, making $20 an hour, living in San Diego. I was not ballin'. We were not ballin'. There's so many things I think back to, and I'm like, man, I wish I had done that differently. So I ended up at the nonprofit for a couple of years. During this time, I meet the person who would one day become my husband and then my ex-husband. And to be honest, at that point in my 20s, like, I thought that was my life's purpose. I didn't think that like I was going to have like a high-powered career or anything. Like, I thought I was going to be like a wife and mother and have kids and then like have a job. So I started dating my ex. We'll call him my ex. I started dating my ex. I finished my master's program. I graduate. He proposed like very shortly after we met, like 8 months after we met, he proposed. We were engaged for a year and a half. We got married. At this point, I left the nonprofit to go work for a small consultancy firm. And okay, so this is right up before I got married. And then it seemed like there was some like maybe tax illegal stuff going on at the consulting firm. Unverified. But it was definitely a toxic environment. And so I was only there for about 9 months before the entire company walked out on the owner. It was very dramatic. So the whole company walks out, and I'm like, well, I don't have a job, but I'm about to get married anyway, so like it doesn't really matter. I'll take some time off. I take the time off. I have a lovely, beautiful wedding. It was a great party. We had so much fun. And while I'm at my wedding, my boss from the leadership nonprofit came up to me and he was like, hey, this is probably the wrong time to talk to you about this, but like, we'd love to have you back. If you want to come back, like, we got a job for you, come back. So I did. I mean, after I got back from my honeymoon and was no longer wearing a wedding dress, I called him up and I was like, yeah, cool, I'll come back. I have fun with you guys. It's a chill gig. Back to making $20 an hour, by the way. The consultancy, I think I was making like 50, 52 maybe. So I go back to the nonprofit leadership development. I'm doing my old job. I apply for a promotion. I get the promotion. I'm now making $56,000. I am 29 years old, 30, somewhere around there. I worked there for a couple more years. Again, start to get that itch where like, I'm not progressing. There's nowhere to go. When you work in a nonprofit, it's like, unless the person above you leaves, there's not really like a growth trajectory. There's nowhere to go. So I'm stuck in this job. I get antsy again. I don't know how to solve the problem of like feeling antsy in this job. I don't know how to get myself promoted. And I decide I'm going to leave. This time I wanted to try setting up my own shop. Now, again, going back to like, I had so much privilege. My ex made pretty good money. We were able to live on his salary and he had great benefits. So like that was easy peasy and I didn't have to worry about making an income. So I'm working for myself. I have a couple of really great clients, but I'm not making very much money. I'm charging by the hour and I'm making like maybe $1,500 on a good month. But I'm also not like working a whole lot. And it was a delightful existence. Like I had it in my head that like my job was to support my husband's career. He was in the military. So I took care of everything in the house. I cooked every day. I cleaned. I took care of our dogs. I gardened. I fixed things around the house. Like he was gone a lot. So I just considered this like my job and my duty and like my duty to America. I should have put whiskey in this for this part. So here I am just kind of like floating through life. And my ex and I didn't really have like a vision of what we wanted our lives to be together. He's Southern raised, and so he had like very traditional ideas about marriage and having kids, and I was like on board, but we didn't have like a set timeline or like what we were working towards or vision. And we hit a point where, you know, we had been married for almost 5 years and we're like, okay, are we having kids? Should we like, it's probably time. Like I'm about to turn 33 years old. Like I should probably get on it. This is the part where the wheels come off. So here I am. I turned 33 on June 10th. Our wedding anniversary was June 15th. 5-year wedding anniversary, June 15th. 4 days after our 5-year wedding anniversary, my husband, he came to me and said, you know, I've been thinking a lot about the conversation we had about having kids, and like I don't want to have a family. I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm good. Like we've made a decision. He made a decision, but I was like, yeah, cool. Like that's fine. I just need to know like what we're doing. And he was like, well, it's not just that. And like, I don't I don't really see the point of us like being together. We're just roommates and we have our separate lives. And, you know, I've never quit anything in my life, but like, I think we should just go like sign papers and like you move on with your life and I'll move on with my life and we'll just go our separate ways. And I was like, pardon? Y'all, divorce was never on my life bingo card. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to get divorced. I'll be honest, up until that point, like I was real judgy about people who got divorces. I had all the tropes in my head. It was like, oh, they're just quitters. They didn't try hard enough. Like marriage is hard. Relationships are hard. You have to fight for it. You have to choose it. Da 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 da. My ass got dumped by like the person that I had a $50,000 wedding with. And all I could think, I remember at the time just being like, all the wedding kept flashing in my head and like all the gifts people sent us. And I was like, I had this weird irrational thought in my head of like, do we have to like send the gifts back? Like we've been married for 5 years. I don't even remember who gave us what. And the shipping's going to be astronomical. Like these are the crazy things that go through your head when you're like going through a trauma. So not only did my ex want a divorce, but he wanted to have everything settled before he was deploying. This was in June. He was deploying in September, July, August. So like basically we had 3 months to negotiate our 8-year relationship and like split up everything and figure out what we were going to do. Oh, by the way, remember that part where like I'm working for myself and I'm making $1,500 a month? I think for the first, 3 weeks, I was just a shell. Like I was so lost. I ate a lot of Ben & Jerry's and drank a lot of chocolate milk and like that was all I subsisted on. Oh, and I watched Grace and Frankie, which Grace and Frankie quite honestly like saved me. So all that time was kind of a blur. And then while this was going on, by the way, I used to do triathlons. I used to do like half Ironmans. So I was training for a half Ironman. It was like my redemption race up in Santa Rosa. And the race was coming up very quickly. And I remember making this decision of like, okay, I'm going to go. I had planned this whole like romantic road trip through California with my ex. Like, oh, we're going to stay at all these lovely places on our way back from the race. And it's going to be beautiful. Yeah, I had to like cancel all that shit. So I end up doing this triathlon and I just had this amazing moment of clarity when I crossed the line where I was like, okay, now I fight. Now I fight. This is when I fight. And I made a very clear plan where I sat down, I went through all my numbers, everything that like it was going to cost me to live, the responsibilities he was leaving me with. We had 2 large dogs, so I was going to be like keeping those dogs. I had a car payment. We had a house and a mortgage payment. And so all these things that I had become used to and that I felt like, I needed to continue in my life, I had to sit down and like basically put a price on my lifestyle. And so all this stuff gets negotiated out. I end up learning how to fight for myself in this process. I never really like fought for myself before. But now that I'm like being forced to put everything on paper, all my contributions, as a wife, everything we had built together, like I had to detail all of it out and decide like what I wanted to carry with me and what I wanted to demand. And so I negotiated the hell out of it, negotiated myself a great alimony, and I kept the house, which was clutch later. You'll hear that story. So I kept the house, I had custody of the dogs. Yes, I got dog support. Like I negotiated the hell out of this. And I gave him the one thing he wanted, which was a signed divorce by September. So we get everything signed, he leaves. I'm now trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do because I cannot live on $1,500 a month and can certainly not afford a $2,500 mortgage payment and a $400 car payment every month. So I just start putting feelers out everywhere I can. Like I'm like blurting my story out to all these people of like how I'm now divorced and I have to find work. So desperate. You're so desperate. Okay, side story. If you've never gone through divorce, this is like a very crazy thing. Or like big traumas. You like tell everybody, like you just blab it out. And years later, I remember the electrician came to my house, and he was like, oh yeah. And he starts talking about my divorce. And I realized like this electrician I had met 2 years prior while I was going through my divorce, I had apparently blurted the entire story out to him. And we had like bonded over our shared divorces. Way TMI. Anyway, I found this job posting and it was for a executive projects manager. Basically, this was a job for somebody who would do events and other special projects for the CEO of the company and other leaders in the company. Now, I had worked with executive leadership at my nonprofit. I had worked on like fancy schmancy donor events when I worked at the university. I was used to dealing with high net worth people. I was really good at like organizing people, moving them around, managing projects through all the jobs that I had ever had. So I applied for this job and I told everybody in my network that I was applying for this job. And thank goodness I had people in my network who were connected to high up leaders at the company. And they were able to send my resume directly in to the hiring manager, along with like the most beautiful letters of recommendation, like directly to our CEO. So that got me an interview, thank goodness. And it was one of those times where like all the previous years, all the work I had done volunteering with my alma mater, or just like building connections, being a good human, even if I couldn't like offer something to people, like I built social currency with them. And so when the time came when I really, really needed them, they came through. So I ended up landing this amazing job. Now, when I applied for the job, I said I needed like $76,000. I think that was my comfortable number, right? My comfortable number. When I got divorced, I sat down and I was like, okay, I figured out what was my bare minimum that I needed to survive, what was my comfortable number that would be like enough to live on, and then what would be like, oh my God, this is a dream. Like this is more money than I could ever need. That number has gone up over the years, by the way. But my comfortable number was $76,000. And I thought I was dreaming. Here I was, by the way, 33 years old, thinking that $76,000 was more money than I was worth. The interview process took months. And when they called, they offered me the job. They said, we're going to make you an offer. They said, but we're in a hiring freeze. And so it's going to be an employment contract. What that means is, you're on a contract. You're not technically a full-time worker, but you're working full-time for us. You're still getting benefits. You're still getting the same pay. I was like, okay, I don't really care. I just need to make money and afford my mortgage. Just have to pay for this mortgage. So they emailed me an offer. And I remember so vividly, I saw it come through on my phone. I was sitting on the ground in my living room and it was on like a little tiny PDF. I'm like, click on it and I'm zooming in and I'm just scanning all over looking for the number. It was $92,000. And I cried. I laughed, cried. After everything I'd been through, it was such validation of all the years of hard work and working at jobs that didn't pay me well and where you just got kind of like a pat on the back and got told how great you were. And, was in a relationship where like I got a pat on the back and like told me how great I was, but then like, tough because that wasn't what you wanted after all. And then I had this company tell me I was worth $92,000, which was like double the most amount of money I ever made. It changed my life. That first year, I worked my tail off because I wanted to prove that I was worth $92,000. So I did. I was there every morning, 7:30 in the morning. I got my Rent the Runway subscription, so I was wearing cute dresses every single day. I showed up with like hair done, makeup done, like looking great, looking polished. I was on top of every project. Like I showed up ready to prove myself. That was in 2019. And then of course we get into 2020 and we all know what happened in 2020. And so we start working from home. We had a series of just sort of awful things happen in our work team. And so I ended up having to take on more responsibility. And I really learned a lot about how to lead people who didn't work for me, who had competing priorities. I learned a lot about being in a corporate business, about being in a Fortune 500, especially because so much of the work I did was so close to the executive group. So I got to learn a lot about what their concerns were, what their, pulls on their time are. I just learned as much as I could, as much as I was able to. Concurrently, I took my first trip to Africa. Now, I had traveled internationally before. I'd been to London and Spain and Mexico and Peru. But like Africa, for somebody, for like a white girl from the US, Africa is a big stretch. In 2021, my mom and I took a trip to Kenya, and that was completely life-changing again. We went to Kenya. We traveled with the Safari Collection. If you've ever seen like Giraffe Manor or like Solio Lodge, these like very famous places in Kenya, that's where we stayed. And because it was on the tail end of COVID, we had like our own private safari. It was just the two of us and our guide in our car. It was the most magical experience I've ever had. And I've had a chance to travel a lot ever since. And so when I went on that trip, I came home and I was just like, more. How do I do more of that? And when I looked around, I like to set a word of the year, like an intention for the year. And that year, my word was space. I was trying to create space or look for space wherever I went. And so coming home from Kenya, I was like, how do I create more space for that? And I started thinking about all the things that were holding me back. What would free up the space for me to do that? And the biggest thing I landed on was the house. The house where I had lived with my ex, the house where we had all of our stuff, we had all of our memories. We were living in a neighborhood with lots of families, and it just didn't fit anymore. So in 2021, the fall of 2021, I put the house up for sale. And that was the best financial decision I've ever made in my life. In the end, I walked out with like $400,000. That'll fund a lot of trips to Kenya. That single decision to sell my house unlocked everything. I downsized in order to upsize my life. And besides the divorce, it was the second best catalyst that I ever could have asked for. So with that money, I was able to invest a very large chunk of it. I used a chunk of it to move into a very fancy high-rise downtown, which if you've ever seen the Qatar video or the original Rent the Runway video, those were all filmed in that apartment. I actually ended up hating that place, to be honest. That was a great lesson of like what I thought I wanted ended up being not at all what I wanted. But then in this time, I started traveling with my World Playground friends. I met those people. That unlocked an entire new group of people in my life who were supportive and excited. They were the ones who were like, you should do the YouTube, like keep going after it, keep trying it. And we've gotten to go to Maldives, we went to Iceland, we went to Indonesia, we went to Rwanda and Uganda. We're leaving for Egypt soon. It was such a catalyst for like continuing to change my life. And not just it changing my life, but because I made those decisions, because I did those things, I was creating the life that I really wanted. That's why we say, go create a life you love. I created it. Now, in parallel at work, I continued to do really well. I continued to learn on the job. I continued to grow. I was given more responsibility. I was promoted. I moved business lines. Like I've had the chance to do so many more amazing things, and I keep learning, and I get to run a team now, and I love running a team and teaching them and sharing and helping them grow their careers and develop, which leads me all the way back to the whole point of this story and telling you this story and creating this very vulnerable vlog to begin with. In that, I'm always telling you to go create a life you love. But there are very obviously things in my life that were catalysts to help me create this life that I love, right? The biggest thing of that is money. There are so many travel influencers out there who are not telling the truth about how they travel. And they are trying to sell people on a dream of travel. Credit card points is one of my favorites because credit card points are awesome. They're awesome. But you have to have money to spend to open credit cards. Get those bonuses, you're gonna have to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. To get an Amex Platinum, you gotta pay $600 a year. And then you earn credit card points by spending money. So credit card points are a great way to like maximize what you're already spending. They're a great way to like get a return on what you're already spending. But don't be fooled that like credit card points are free. Same with influencer travel, and how many of them are getting free stays, free trips, free flights. They are then producing content to sell you that same exact thing. It's a thing I always stick on, and like no hate on them. That's awesome. That's amazing. But that's not how I do it. I pay for my travel because I have a high paying job, because I made strategic investments, because I continue to do side hustles like Rover to earn extra income, because I was smart with my money, and because I got really freaking good at a job that pays well. So if I'm going to help you create a life you love, which is the whole point of this channel to begin with, I'm feeling like we should start branching out a bit from just travel content. This is something I've been playing with a little bit over on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, Average Girl Does Cool Things. I've been playing a lot with like doing Millennial Manager Mondays and other fun corporate tips or things to help you do better at your career. I want to create a community for women primarily. Maybe we'll open up to the boys too, but women, because I'm a woman, hello. But because I think we type A women especially, who grew up as like the good girls who got good grades and never really like made waves and didn't steer their own lives, I think we can kind of get lost in not driving our own careers. It's how we end up working for nonprofits. I sometimes joke that like I want a group that's like corporate for liberal arts majors, because liberal arts majors have a lot to offer corporate. Trust me, we really do. Our skills are needed. But it's not something people really talk about. There's a lot of corporate content out there around how to get a job. There's a lot of like corporate recruiter type things. But what about the people who like need to be nurtured to be great at their job, to become like go-getters in their corporate careers, to feel like they can own their lives in corporate and use their skills to get promoted, to make more money, to go create a life they love. So it's a thing I've been thinking about lately, and I think we'll see a little bit of content pivot reflect that as we go forward. And I would really love to know, like, what's stopping you from creating a life you love? Like, let's start talking about that. Let's start problem solving. Let's like see how we can break out of those barriers, mindsets, whatever they are, so that you too can go do what you want to do and like be happy in your life. Because trust me, y'all, if I can survive getting dumped by my husband and turn that into like a phoenix rising from the ashes, kick-ass life, make more money than I ever could have expected, the price has gone up. You can too. You can. I promise. Okay, that's enough talking for today. Anyway, you know what I'm going to say. Go create a life you love. Bye.